What's up, everyone? All right, well, here we are Wednesday morning, and my gut feeling right now is I need to walk away before I do something stupid. Here's the problem. Today, we've got some decent action. TVGN currently up 90%, LRHC up over 200%, VRAX up over 100%, but a lot of these stocks were grinders. They were grinding higher, not going parabolic, not going straight up, but pulling away a little bit, looking like they're gonna go and then stalling out, running into resistance, dropping back down, coming back up, looking like they're gonna pull away and then fading again. So these sort of deeper waves where it is pushing higher over, 5-minute, 15-minute, 20, 30-minute time frames, but trying to do breakouts on the 1 minute, you're going to get yourself frustrated. Looking at the 10-second, it's just too choppy. And so for me, especially in the last week, I've been so dialed in with being super aggressive on the front side of a parabolic move. I've had to kind of put put the brakes on a little bit and slow down because that's not the action we saw today. All right, so let's look at TVGN first. And this is the one that I'm feeling like I need to walk away before I do something stupid. So TVGN, how well does it meet 5 criteria for, a quality setup? And by the way, I will put a link for those 5 criteria. I'll pin it to the top of the description. I'll pin to the top comment and I'll link it in the description so you can download that. The 5 criteria, number 1, price. Well, it fits within price. Between 2 and 10 is sort of the sweet spot right now. Now, I generally say between 2 and 20, and sometimes I'll trade a little lower, but it's okay from a price perspective. But one issue with this, based on the 5 criteria, is that the float is about 14 million shares. It's a little higher. It's also a stock on the daily chart that recently made a big move, which means today's relative volume is actually going to be a little bit lower because the high volume on these days pushed the total average volume over the last 30 days significantly higher. So front side of the move is sort of back here, and then these are continuation days, and now it's pushing higher, which I'm not going to say it's not impressive, but the volume is a lot lower than it was previously, and I already took one trade on it, and it was a close call. It was a break-even trade, $54 of profit on a 12,500 share position. And it was like, okay, this is going to be a little harder than some of the others. Maybe I should step back off of this one. WINT, similarly a break-even trade. I'm sitting at $6,371.97 on the day. I hit the daily goal. It's a good day. I don't need to overstay my welcome. But it's not such a great day that I have a big cushion where I can take a lot of risk. So TVGN, as I was seeing it coming up to the 200, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. Now, the one trade that I did take on it was at 250. So that was right here. All right, so right here, I got in for the break of 250. It breaks. I don't buy there. It retests. It holds, and I bought this dip at about 253, 254. It pops up to 57 and then drops back down. So I got out more or less break even. In this area right here, what I wanted to see was that it was going to micro pullback and push higher, micro pullback and push higher. So when it couldn't break 60, I was like, nope, I got to jump out. Now through this area, consolidation, holding the VWAP, curling and pulling away. A little bit of a bigger red candle there, pushing higher, another dip, pushing higher, finally pulling away, and then stalling out as we come up to the whole $1.03. So this might go higher later, but I just don't want to push my luck. Now, we'll look at WINT and LRHC, and then I'll talk about VRAX, which is the one I did the best on. So WINT, this one hit the scanners earlier this morning, had news, 8 a.m., so jumped in it at $1 a share, goes up to $1.10. I was holding my full position, thinking I was going to add $1.15, $1.20. Maybe this would go up to $1.30, $1.40. Drops right back down, got back out, basically flat. So TVGN, I was never really green on. WINT, W-I-N-T, I was green on it. I didn't take the profit off the table. I was looking for a bigger winner. But my first trade of the day was on VRAX. So when I sat down this morning, I sat down around 6:45, and I looked at the scans, and we really didn't have a lot. We had BSGM, which was our leading gainer, and it still is. But this is a stock that basically spiked up at 4:45 a.m., no clear news on it, and then retraced the whole move. All right. Well, there was no clear news on it. There was news from yesterday, but it wasn't even that exciting. They appealed NASDAQ panel, I think, regarding delisting or something like that. So, this one there was no trade on it. So yes, it was the leading gainer, 91% currently. It was gapping up higher when I sat down at 7 a.m., but no trades on that. TVGN, that one hadn't started pulling away yet. Spirit Airlines, no interest in that. A couple others here, but they don't fit within the price or float parameters. Either the price is too high or the float's too high or the price is too low. We had some of those too. And I was a little worried about lower price stocks being the focus today because yesterday we had ENSC or something like that. So I thought, well, maybe that could be an issue. We'll just have to, we'll wait and see. So anyways, so then all of a sudden we get this breaking news that comes out on VRAX at about, it's like 7:15 or something like that. So right here, this pops up right at 7:15 when the news comes out, and I jumped in, took my first trade. Now, as soon as I saw VRAX, I was like, okay, I know this stock. It was moving during the monkeypox outbreak like a month ago. So if we look at the daily chart, we'll recognize that this is a stock that recently made, a pretty big move. It went from $1.50 up to like $10. Okay, the float, about 2 million shares. So 2 million share float. It's $3 a share right now, $2.75. Down here is about $2 a share. So my initial feeling on it was, not sure I love it. Not sure I love it because, the price is a little cheaper. But again, sort of similar to TVGN, it recently made a big move and then kind of gave it all back. So at that point, we were also under the 200 moving average, which is around 250. But I said, I hesitated on a few yesterday and the day before, and they ended up working well. So I thought, it's the right time of day. I'll give it a stab. So I went ahead and took this first trade on it, and I'll show you where I got in. So we had a micro pullback, and I bought the micro pullback, right? Boom, here. So we squeeze up to 2, micro pullback. I got in right there at about 2. Goes up to 210, 220, 240, 250, 280. I took some profit on this, and it hit a high of about 290. And I was also, by the way, I was adding as it was pulling away. So starter position down here at 2, and then adding into the move. And then once it stalled out, took my profit off the table. Comes down, I do a dip off the low, bounces back up, do another dip off the low, bounces back up. And then I was like, all right, I think I'm kind of done with this for right now. It ended up pulling back a little bit more. So that got me up to about my daily goal, up about 4,000 on the day just from that move. Then I took another trade on it. Let's see. Now, let me try to remember where this was. I'm going to go back here, find this trade. So I had a loss on it, which I want to find for a second. So it wasn't there. 3. Yeah, there it was. 847. So 847, I took a loss on this. Yeah. So it was right here. So right here, I added on this for the squeeze through 3, and I add at about 90. I'm looking for the squeeze through 3. It hits a high here of 95 and then flushes to 85, and I stopped out. So, I mean, it's not the biggest range, but on this one, I was trading with larger share size. So stopped out of that, lost about $2,000 on that drop, and went from up 4,700 on the day to 2,700 on the day. And I was like, all right, that cuts my day in half. Let's be careful. It comes back up. I got back in it right here as we break over 3. We got squeezed up to 310. I was hoping it would pull away, and again, like it goes up to 311 and then starts to drop. I get out. Goes back under 3, comes back up, back down, back up. I get back in at 320. It goes up here for a second, but then like that's it. So it just, it's like it did push a little higher, but it wasn't super clean. So it got crowded. So anyways, I ended up making back the little bit I lost on it and finishing up 6,200. But it's harder to trade these grinders. You expect and look for a nice clean breakout, and then you get let down. So that was VRAX, and then LRHC. So this one, interesting price action. Earlier this morning when it was first, coming to my attention, I was like, well, it's 70 cents a share. I don't care. Drops back down. So basically does a full round trip. Then all of a sudden, boom, spikes up from 70 cents to $1.10, which is a pretty massive spike, but it gives it all back. And then at the open, so I was like, I can't trade this. Then at the open, it halts up. It opens higher, dips and rips, goes into a second halt. Opens, pushes a little higher. Halts down, opens, coming back up, and now we're under the halt up level. But here's the problem. This stock yesterday closed below 75 cents a share. So what that means is this stock will halt every 15 cents. The halt bands are 30 cents apart. So $1.50 to $1.80. The problem here with this is that I was watching this on resumption from this second halt here, and when it resumed, it dipped down to about $1.33. $1.33 was the halt down level. And I was like, I don't want to be in a halt down after two halts up, because usually they're going to open lower. And then it rips to the halt up level. And so, you've only got really 30 cents of range within a sort of rolling 5-minute period. And that's it. So if you want to make $5,000 on it, you need to be buying 25,000 shares and capturing, half of that move or so. It's just, that's the only way. Or, buying and holding and just letting it work. But that's a lot easier said than done, especially when you're at risk of getting caught in a halt down. So I was disappointed in a way that this went up as much as it did and I wasn't able to capitalize on it, but I just felt that I couldn't manage the risk. Now, someone asked me, Ross, why don't you just take smaller size? And I said, well, if taking smaller size doesn't change the risk to reward ratio on the trade. Because here's the problem. If I got in at, let's say 65 and the halt up is at 68 cents, I'm only going to be up 3 cents going into the halt. What if it halts and then it shows a lower resumption? Someone puts out a big sell order during the halt. What if it shows a flat resumption? Then it may, on resumption, dip down, and I'm not even at a profit cushion. And on the flip side, if I buy on a dip when it pulls back down to about $1.35, if someone dumps 100,000 shares, it's going to send it right to the halt down level. It's going to be pinned to the halt down. I won't be able to get out. I'm going to be trapped. So that's the problem with trading these, is you can get trapped. Either buying the dip, you get trapped down, or you buy high and you just don't have a lot of room before you're in a halt. And that can work in your favor, but not always, especially when they don't have enough room to really gain momentum before the halt. So right now, LRHC is at the halt down, which is 52. So like if you bought this dip here, it's like, shoot, this looks like it's actually going to halt. So now you're in a halt down, right? It's not halted yet, but it's heavy on the ask, so it's going to halt. So now it's halted down. It's showing a 5-cent lower resumption at 147, now 145. And, that price could move around, 146, 147. Maybe it'll open more or less flat, 148. Who knows? Maybe it'll open at 155. It'll open higher. But in any case, you don't like to be going the wrong direction of the halt, where you're buying and the halt is going down. So I just felt that I couldn't manage my risk on it. And, this week has been kind of interesting because Monday and Tuesday were both, really pretty solid days for me. Strong days. I can pull up my metrics here. We can just look at them for a second. So I'm sitting in fantastic shape on the month. Right now, after today, 280,000 in gross profit on the month. That makes this my best month of the year. I'm already up 42,000 on the week before today. Last week was my best week of the entire year with 203,000. So if I switch to a year-to-date view, we can do year-to-date. Detailed, so sitting at 1,078,000 year to date. Average daily gain 5,000 a day. Daily goal is 5,000, so that's pretty solid. Average winners $645. Average losers $480. A positive profit to loss ratio. Let's look just in brief at last year. Last year was a low point for me. My profit loss ratio was negative. I had bigger losers, not a lot of them, but just in general, bigger losers. I only did 67% accuracy, and gross profit was $389,000. So I've nearly, by the end of the year, I will hopefully have tripled what I did last year. Not just doubled, but tripled. And that, I'll say that last year was tough because, I had my high water mark was in 2020. That was the year I did $5 million. It was crazy. And that was in gross profit. And then 2021 was a little lower. It was 4 point something million. Still a good year. 2022 was $1 million. So it's quite a bit lower, but can't complain, $1 million. And I didn't know where I was going to base out, because if we go back to 2019 was about $330,000. 2018 was 500,000. So, you kind of look like 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, boom, crazy. 2021, just still super solid. 2022, a lot lower. 2023, 389,000. I was like, okay. So basically, I was making less each year for 3 consecutive years. 2021 was less than the year before. So was 2022. So was 2023. And I was like, where are we going to bottom out here? This is like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not grateful to still be, clearing 6 figures. Life is good, but where are we going to, where's the low? And what was really interesting this year was all of a sudden in February, we had a really good month. So February was the best month I'd had in over a year, better than any month that I can recall in 2023. So that was February with 131,000 in profit. So just like that, with January and February, I was at 160 on the year, and I was, practically, 40% of the way towards, making what I made in 2023 in 2 months there. And then March was slow, April, May, a little slow, and then July, out of nowhere, again, huge momentum, which continued through August, and September wasn't terrible. And now October, didn't expect it, but drug going up 2,000% in one day, that sparked a round of momentum that then the next day I'm up $100,000. And I was starting to ask myself whether or not I'd be able to have, $100,000 days like I'd had in the past. The last $100,000 day I'd had was probably in 2021. I don't remember exactly when it was, but let's see. I mean, maybe it was in 2022. I don't remember exactly, but my best month in 2022 was August with 186,000. So we could just check August for a second. So August, August was, I didn't have a single day more than 28,000, and I still had 186,000 total profit. So it actually wouldn't surprise me if 2022, I didn't have any days where I was up over 100 grand. Still was able to make $1 million without those types of days, but yeah, it looks like the biggest day of the year was in the 30s. There's one too, 68,000 and 52,000 in February. So those were some nice days, but a couple of bigger red days at the beginning of the year, which was tough. So anyways, my last $100,000 day would have been in 2021, and maybe it was December. I don't know. We'll see. So no, not December. What about November? Almost November, but not quite. That was 80. It was in October. Interesting. Is that a coincidence? It was the same month? I don't know. So October 26, 2022, 2021 was my last $100,000 day. So, 3 years. 3 years. Wow. It's hard to believe. So I didn't have, not that it really matters, but didn't have one in 2022, didn't have one in 2023. So that was 1, that was 2, that was 3 years ago. So it's been 3 years since I had a $100,000 day. And, that kind of made me wonder if maybe I wouldn't be able to have that kind of day again. I was like, was that just like, was that my high water mark? And I thought a lot about this. I thought about, almost like thinking about like, what it must be to be like a football player, and you're like, I'm over my peak. I didn't know it at the time, but like I'm past my peak, and now I'm on the backside, and I'll never get back to there. And I don't know that we will anytime soon get back to the type of volatility we had during the pandemic. I think that type of volatility is more akin to what we had during the dot-com bubble, which, although I was in school and was participating in it through a school project, I wasn't trading it with real money like I am today. So I didn't capitalize on the dot-com bubble. So then 20 years later, we have the COVID pandemic. So it might be another 20 years before we have another, big event. I mean, again, look, I'm up $100,000, just last week on Wednesday. I'm up almost 300 on the month here of October. So, this is a really great month, but it's not right now. I would need, 10 more months of this to be up 3 million, right? So it would need to continue at this level. And even today was clearly a little slower. But I started to think about that a lot. I was like, what does that kind of mean that, if I am kind of on the backside? And I sort of thought, well, I think that if we got the right opportunities in the market, I don't see any reason I'm not capable of having a $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 day. It's just that we haven't had stocks that have made those kinds of moves. Even the big moves we had during 2022 and 2023 didn't have the liquidity, or they were grinders, they were slower movers. They just weren't the type of stock that I would really crush and that I did well on during the pandemic. So what I sort of said to myself was that realistically for me what's the anatomy of a $100,000 day? The anatomy of a $100,000 day. Well, let's say if a stock is really volatile, maybe I'm taking 10,000, 15,000 shares. Probably not going a lot heavier than that typically. So let's say I do 15,000 shares. And let's say it goes up $2 a share. How much am I going to make? 30 grand at the most if I capture the whole move, which you never do. So figure whatever the move is, maybe I'll capture half of it. So if a stock goes up $2 a share and I'm trading 15,000 shares, I'll probably make $1 a share. That's 15 grand. So now you need to get $4 a share for me to be up 30,000, right? So now it's like $6, $8 for me to be up 60,000, 70,000, $9, $10. Now you're getting to 80,000, 100,000 on the day. So that's kind of the size move I feel like I need. And how many times last year and in the year before did we get within the span of like 30 minutes, a 10-point squeeze? It happened. But a number of the ones that it happened on were stocks like HKD, where it went up that much, but on like 3,000 shares of volume. So you couldn't really, yes, it went up, but you couldn't have bought 15,000 shares and traded it. It just wasn't liquid. The spreads were too big. Or you had ones that, the move just happened at an odd time of day and luck of the draw, you missed it. And maybe we only had a few of those in the year. And if you missed all 3 of them because they were all at a strange time of the day or 4 a.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever it is, you missed it. And it's like, all right. So I just sort of realized my bread and butter is just showing up every day, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., hitting some base hits, locking up some profit, not overstaying my welcome. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been grinding on for the last 3 years and making decent money at it. But then this year, all of a sudden, we've started to see some bigger moves. And we saw them in February. We saw them again in July and August. I did well on them. I had 2 back-to-back $50,000, $40,000 days in July, which was great. And then all of a sudden here in October, with drug going up 2,000%, that ignited some FOMO in me. And I think it ignited FOMO in the market because all of a sudden we see back-to-back, 3 days in a row, stocks going up over 1,000%. And like that, I'm able to capitalize on that type of volatility. So, we had drug, we had sober, we had ATNF, we had, we've had a number of stocks that have gone up multiple dollars a share. And that's the type of move that I need to really do well. So today, did we get a 5-point move? No. Did we get a 10-point move? No. Did we even get a 2-point move? No, we didn't. The biggest move that we got today, really, in terms of percentages, it would be LRHC, which went from 80 cents to $1.80. To make 100,000 on that, you would have needed 100,000 shares or more. So of course, that's not going to happen. That's way too much risk for me. I'm not going to do that. Then, VRAX, look, we got $1 a share on it from $2 to $3, not even, right? And then it goes back to $2 and then goes back to $3.50. $1 a share. All right. I'm up 6 grand on it. Could I have made more? Maybe. TVGN, it's up 70%, but in terms of dollars per share, it's from $1.80 to $2.80. It's $1 a share. So, and it just so happens that this was a grinder and it was harder to trade. VRAX was a little easier at the beginning and then got more difficult. So, today we didn't have any stocks that really gave those big moves that allowed me to size up. HYZN yesterday, This one, I did better on HYZN. So let's look at how big that move was. This one went from $2 to $4. That was a 2-point move. And I was able to be up about, I think on the total day on it, like 18,000. So, but that was better. That was a bigger move. It pulled back and then we got a nice bounce. We had more range. We just, unfortunately today, didn't have one that really gave us that range. So why not? Well, I think the issue today was that the stocks that had breaking news didn't have that right combination of the 5 criteria for stock selection to be really what I would consider A quality or have parabolic potential. Just wasn't a perfect combination of price, float, and news. Daily setups, not ideal. So, we got some action. I'm happy to hit a couple base hits and lock up my daily goal here, but there wasn't anything I could really sink my teeth into and get super excited on. And look, it's 10:30 a.m. So it may be that TVGN goes now from 350 to 3 to 350 to 4, something like that. It's possible, but it's so thickly traded. There's so many huge sellers, and you're going to have so many jackknife moves that, to me, it's just not worth it. So, anyways, I'm not going back for that one. I'm happy with where I sit today. Look, I wish I could have done a little bit better. I wish we'd had some more opportunities, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is a really solid day, and it would be very easy to give it back if I get careless and start over trading. So that's why I wanted to record my recap real quick and then shut everything down and not look at charts again until tomorrow. That for me is my best technique for fighting FOMO, is just to shut it all down and boom, just like that, out of sight, out of mind. Right? I don't want to look any closer. So if you want to learn more about my 5 criteria for stock selection, I'll put the link down in the comments, pin it to the top comment, and link it in the description. And I hope to see you guys join us over at Warrior Trading. You could do a 2-week trial. That link will also be posted. And I'll remind you, as always, that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow. And I'll see you back here. I'll be live streaming for members at Warrior Trading tomorrow at around 7 a.m. Okay, see you in the morning.